Well, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, so you know we're about to sit down and have an awesome conversation. But before we get into that, let's talk about what actually makes this podcast possible. Sure, I need to have recording equipment. I need to have a video camera for the video aspect of it. But I tell you what, right now, what actually makes me able to do this, or what allows me to be able to do this, is the support from brands like Black Rifle Coffee, specifically the brand Black Rifle Coffee. They are the sole sponsor of the podcast, and I could not be more proud to have them as such. So if you want to support me, please support them. Go to blackriflecoffee.com, and I'm just going to recommend you scroll across the top banner to begin with, because there's three things that are up there right now that are pretty timely. First is their Warrior Roast, and this is part of the limited premium roast. If you want to get this roast, you need to sign up for the exclusive coffee subscription, which is a monthly changing roast, and they're pretty awesome. In addition to that, you have the choice on the next page on the banner. You can just join their regular coffee club. Regular is probably not a great descriptor of it because it's not any better or worse. I'm going to say it's different. You can get access to all of the roasts that they have delivered to your front door or office, or actually wherever you would want it to be delivered, at the pace and cadence that you want it to. So that's an option. And then the third thing that I'm just actually now seeing for the first time is a Bass Cat boat giveaway. It's a fully rigged and custom wrapped Bass Cat Cougar. And I guess you get some more stuff with that, but you can just learn more and click right on the first banner tab, blackriflecoffee.com. They're awesome people. It's an awesome brand. Couldn't be more stoked to be involved with them. And that's it on the business side. Let's talk about my guest today. His name is Nick Koumalatsos. And let me just tell you, that took me a little bit of practice to say that. And I actually had to ask him directly how to pronounce it because it's a mouthful. Damn you, Nick. But so Nick, grew up on the East Coast, or was born on the East Coast, found his way into the Marine Corps in 2000, ended up spending 12 years deploying around the globe in support of the global war on terror. I was going to say tether. What the hell is the global war on tether? Tetherball, perhaps. Global war on terror. Served as a force reconnaissance Marine, a Marine Raider, Marine Special Operations Command. He got out. He's an entrepreneur. He is doing some amazing things. He does speaking. He has podcasting. He has a legit brand called Johnny Slicks. And as you may have guessed, already listening to me talk about this, he's going to do a way better job of explaining who he is and what he does than I am going to. So I will shut up. And hopefully you enjoy episode number 279 with Nick Koumalatsos.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. Get cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
So, the laptop, actually, but
okay.
You have a podcast.
Yeah.
Have you encountered yet a fantastic episode where the record button wasn't pushed?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so you understand why I have a selection of things off screen that people can't see. It used to go, so I started with just a Zoom.
Yeah.
And, I didn't plug it in for a few and the batteries were just fine. And it went from full battery indication to at some point during a podcast shut off. I didn't realize it corrupts the entire file. So that sucked. And then I record into Adobe Audition. Sometimes folders, they just look like they want to get dragged into the garbage bin, and so, and then of course, empty the garbage bin after you drag it in there. So now I have a system that it's a backup. That's why I would go into the Rodecaster.
We have multiple as well.
You have to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long ago. Who was I doing? It was with my buddy Nelson. It was just me and him, and we were just going to do a simple one camera long axis. I didn't turn it on. It was an audio only episode.
Hey, so things happen sometimes. Sorry, bud.
Yeah. Here's the most riveting question of today.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
How in the fuck do you say your last name?
Koumalatsos.
Oh my God. Okay. I will.
So simple.
But I will reference that when I do the intro to this.
The reason why is because in the English language, those letters don't go together. So even if I spell it for people over the phone, their brain gets jumbled. They're like, wait a minute, that doesn't go together. So
yeah, no, I'll listen back to that before I do the intro, and then I'll do my best.
It's K-O-U, Ku, M-A, Ma, L-A, La, and then T-S-O-S is where people get fucked up. It's because it's like a soft T, sos.
Yeah.
It's not,
Is it Greek?
Yeah, it's Greek.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah.
My last name is German, and it didn't sound German.
My family immigrated in the 70s.
Okay.
And then I was born in 82.
I was going to say, you just had your birthday.
Yep.
Are you in your 4th decade now?
I'm 40. I turned 41.
How's it feel?
Fucking hurts, man.
I mean, I'm only 32. So I'm joking. Well,
I know. That math doesn't add up.
Dude, I am 45, and I honestly, as dumb as this is to say, I don't know how the hell I got here. Like, how did 45 years go by?
I don't know, man. I don't know. And I have 3 kids. I have a 21-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old.
I have 19, 17, and 14. And also, why would you ruin your life like that?
I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess.
Clearly,
Yeah.
You were out.
Yeah, I was out, bro.
You were out of the tunnel.
I was completely out, and I had fully intended to be out. And to make it even worse, not only did I get back in, I paid an enormous amount of money to get back in, because in 2007 I had a vasectomy.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had it reversed?
Nope. They went in, dude. They went in, shredded the epididymis, sucked all that shit out, and now it's in a cryo in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. I could have babies forever.
Were you awake for this?
No, hell no. I wasn't awake for
I mean, is this like a local anesthesia that they give you?
No, bro, this is, you're out. You're going out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I heard is that they Hoover vac your balls.
They Hoover vac my balls.
Okay.
Yeah. Millions, they said. They said there was like very, very healthy sperm in there.
Okay.
So basically what we did was we created our own universal soldier program. And
Okay.
I've got one in the freezer that's going to go in this year.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
not at me. I know it is 2023, but it's not going in me. It's going to go in my wife.
Can men have children, Nick? Let's get into the nitty
You want to do
gritty.
this? Is it my opinion or is this the world's opinion?
How about, for clarity, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I think most people know that. How about we just live in the world of common sense?
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a penis, you're not having a baby. Sorry.
What if they cut the penis off?
Still not having a baby.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
From my understanding.
Yeah.
You know what trips me out about that is I actually want people to live the most enriching life ever.
Absolutely.
Like I want
Sure.
do whatever you want.
Whatever makes you happy.
Where it trips me up is where they demand that I participate.
Yeah.
And
that's
I
where I have a problem with it as well.
I want to say that it's I participate in their fantasy, but I will admit that that's probably not the politest way to describe it.
That's okay.
But
It is your podcast.
it is, and I'm not trying. And I generally I would never. I was just about to say I would never go out of my way to make somebody feel bad. That would have been a lie. Yeah. I'm trying to be honest. I have gone out of my way at times in my life to make people feel bad, but I don't want to trample on anybody's beliefs. But I have been amazed.
Yeah, but did you think that before the world went to shit in 2.5 years ago?
I've always wanted people to be happy.
Yeah, so
and I've always landed at
so you've just been consistent
in wanting people to live well, because the things I have been told my whole life, hey, you're interested in some bizarre things. Like I love skydiving and base jumping. Not a lot of people pursue those hobbies, but not a lot of people pursue the backgrounds that we have either.
Right, correct.
So it's abnormal or atypical for most people that you would meet. And so I kind of got used to hearing that. And I was thinking, well, I feel normal about these choices. In my head, I'm the most normal person that I've ever met, probably on the face of the planet. I actually think that's truly the case. But if I am happy and comfortable pursuing things that other people feel are abnormal, then why can't, everybody else should have that ability as well.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the forced compliance in other people's beliefs. And I also don't understand for groups of people that demand inclusivity and they demand that their beliefs be validated or upheld, and they will support your beliefs being validated and upheld if it is the same belief that they have.
Yes.
And then beyond that, they're the most non-inclusive groups of people I've ever met.
Absolutely. They are.
I don't get that math.
Yeah.
I don't understand that math.
And what's crazy is that, if you look at percentages of those populace, they are the minority of the minority of the minority.
Statistically, yes.
But they're just the loudest.
Well, the internet's an amazing tool.
Yeah, it is.
And it reaches far and wide.
Speaking of, and obviously certain powers that be have those algorithms turned up to where those loud voices are even louder. You see that the YouTube's CEO resigned yesterday after they were being subpoenaed on the Hill.
No.
Also all the big tech CEOs have been getting like subpoenaed to go.
What for this time? Because I remember seeing Zuckerberg.
So the Twitter guys were just up there, right? And they just called them all out.
I love it when they say yes, no, answer only, and they go, well,
I can't. It's a fucking yes or no question, dude. But yeah, so as soon as that started to happen, it had to do with what the hell?
Throttling of some kind?
Throttling one voice versus the other, censorship sort of thing, blocking, turning off accounts, shadow banning certain accounts. And as soon as people started getting called to basically essentially testify, and that's not a court, but it's an open hearing.
It's an open hearing, and I'm pretty sure that, you say something like that in a public spectrum and you lie.
Exactly. It might as well be court, right? Because you're going to get judged and there's going to be consequences. Yeah, man, she stepped down, man. Boom.
Really?
Oh, yeah, done.
Before or after testimony?
Before. I don't know if she's been called. I just know that big tech, the tech executives are being called, and she was like, boop, out. Which I don't understand, because it doesn't, just because you're no longer any, all those Twitter employees got fired. Yeah. And they all still had to go up there. So
you're going to have to account for the decisions you made while you were in the seat.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that are just going, oh shit, I'm out. I'm going to take a back seat. Who knows? But it was weird. I could be speculating.
Yeah, the timing certainly would lend itself towards a conspiratorial mindset. I do my best.
You've been in this game long enough to have felt some effects of your voice.
Well, it is interesting, though. I hear a lot of people talk about being shadow banned, and what it really is that they're boring as fuck. Let's be honest. Yeah. There are people that I know who have like a sub 1,000 person following. And
well, I'll tell you this, like I follow you. There's been times where your shit just disappears.
I've heard that from many people. Yeah, it's weird.
And
fortunately, I'm not putting anything out that's critical. Most of the time, it's just people eating shit on motorbikes.
Right.
So if you're missing that in your feed, double check to make sure that you're still following. But if not,
there's just weird little things. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
It is.
But going back to your point, it is. I think whoever the shadow governors are at B, I think they do, turn the volume up on those minority groups with the loud voices.
And that's the thing, the platforms that the podcast is on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Core Media, I guess. It's just a nice coffee. Delightful Black Rifle Coffee, iced coffee.
Nice. Congratulations, by the way.
Swing by it. You got to check it out when we're done. It's just 2 blocks down on the same street.
That's awesome, man.
But they're all free, right? So actually, I take that back. I don't know about you, but I host my podcast on Libsyn. I forget what I pay per month, but that's just where I upload the audio file. So I pay for that ability because that houses the actual file and then it strips it through the RSS feed. But I'm sure somewhere in the fine print that I did not read and scroll down as fast as I could and click these.
You didn't have your lawyers, that terms and agreement stuff?
No. Have you ever seen the tests that they've done with those?
No.
Where they'll put shit in there as a non-legal binding thing, but like you will sign over your right to your first children, like your organs.
And nobody reads.
And the rate of people clicking accept does not change. Because if you're anything like
I'm
me,
not going to lie, I don't read that shit
it's
either.
like go, accept. So it's free platforms, and we're playing in their parking lot by choice.
Yeah.
But it also, I can't think of, and maybe you can think of one, an example where censorship netted out a positive. I just don't think it ever works.
I think it goes down. Yeah, there's never a good road. The end of that road is always pretty gnarly.
Yeah. And it seems like it's
historically speaking.
Correct.
Now, I'm not saying it couldn't change, but historically,
I don't know. I think if you have a shitty idea, the best thing you can do is bring it right into the light and show people that you're a moron.
Absolutely.
And in doing so, you'll probably think you're really smart until you are exposed. And maybe you won't realize it. But hiding stuff in the shadows, I don't think it works.
The reason why I've been a little more vocal about the algorithms and the thing is the way that we're witnessing it affect children and youth. I mean, you have kids as well.
I do, yeah.
I mean, they really have put a system in place. And I'm not talking about like grooming or sexual stuff. I'm literally just talking about a narrative, putting a narrative into teenage kids' heads, and then really like they're like doubling down on that to get them to think a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, and again, it's a parenting issue as well. Like, why do you even have your kids, but it's hard. It's hard,
think
man,
about
in
it.
2023.
I was going to say, so you've had kids that have, grown and left the house. And I look at my kids, I have two that are out of high school, and then one that's a freshman, my daughter. So I got two boys and a girl. The older they get, the more time they spend with their friends and teachers and social circle. You could have, and I've heard this story, this version so many times, where parental blocks on phones, this, that, or the other. So what do? They borrow a friend's phone.
Kids are smart, dude.
Yeah.
Like you and I were smart.
Oh.
Like we got around any whatever block you put, we figure it out.
Here's the truth. I was lucky I wasn't born with the internet like my kids were.
Same.
I would have had a dossier of titties, though.
I cherish the 80s, dude. The 80s and the early 90s, man. Oh, man. I go back thinking like, God, what a great time to be alive.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up?
Florida.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I say Florida, but I make fun of my mom. We moved around every 6 months. So every 6 months growing up until I was about 11 years old, we moved.
Why every 6 months?
She was running from the law.
I have follow-up questions.
No, honestly, it was me and that's what I tell people, but it's what it felt like. Honestly, I think she was just a single mom. It was, talking to her now, she was like, honestly, it was just jobs.
Okay.
It was like, I pick a job, and sometimes she worked 2 jobs to support my brother and I. And so we moved, and I hated it. I remember it's horrible because I can only imagine this as a feeling as a parent. I didn't unpack my trash bag. I had the contractor black trash bags. That was our suitcases. And I didn't unpack one time. And she was like, why haven't you unpacked? And it's like, oh, we're just going to move. We're going to move again soon. So figured I'd be ready. And I remember the look on my mom's face like, oh, fuck, I've done this to my kid.
Yeah, but what's the alternative? I mean, single parent with 2 kids, you got limited options.
Yeah. So she made it happen. But you know what's great is never really had friends growing up. Was in a different school all the time. So it was just me and my brother. What was really cool was once I did join the military, that was just super simple. That was normal. Like moving around, living out of a backpack. And I would watch, young men when they first got in. Like,
come unhinged.
Yeah, like really not be able to adjust to that kind of traveling schedule being in the military. And for me, I was like, I was sleeping on a backpack on the ground, here, there, go wherever. Didn't matter.
That's rough though, man. I mean, I'm glad that made the military transition easier, but that couldn't have been easy growing up.
No, it wasn't. But now what you think is a hardship really gives you kind of superpowers as you grow, if you choose it.
If you choose to use it for good.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who would choose to use it as the excuse to just have their life auger in.
Yeah, I think it gave me like a better perspective of life, and I could appreciate certain things. And, I've met people that just don't travel well. Like they don't travel at all. They can't. They mentally just can't do it. And for me, I'm like, I almost crave it. I get in one place. I'm like, I think to take a trip somewhere.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's an adventure.
Was your dad in the picture at all growing up?
In and out. We kind of reconnected when I joined the military, and that's when our kind of relationship started. There's a lot of weird unknown factors during that time between my mom and my dad. But, yeah.
Well,
so no, I didn't grow up with my biological father in the house. I had a abusive stepfather for a while, so that was cool. Up until I was 11, there was a big incident that happened that caused that relationship to end. That was me getting thrown through a closet door when I was like 10, 11 years old.
Did you go back later in life and kick the shit out of that man? Because I would have.
You know what? The reason why it happened was, I hit puberty young. You hit puberty, all of a sudden you get that fire in you, right? As a young man. And I fought back. It was the first time I fought back. And when I fought back, it caused a big ruckus. The whole house got notified. And then,
that sucks.
Yeah.
That is rough for sure.
Again, you can choose that to be like a crippling thing or to be like fuel to become something better and to do something better with your life.
I agree, but I also think you have to deal with that at some point as well too.
Yeah.
You know, that stuff is weight that adds up over time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we both know plenty of people who chose to not do anything about it. And you're like, dude, why do you have such a gambling problem or an alcohol problem or a violence problem? Like, what in the actual fuck?
Like, what's the actual issue?
Yeah, because it seems like you have got the world in front of you, and given the opportunity to do 9 right things or 1 wrong, you're constantly choosing the wrong thing to do. Yeah, and
or if you do you do well for a little while, they self-sabotage and they go right back to it. And it's like this roller coaster thing of life. Yeah.
What led you to the military?
Oh man, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I had 2.
It's up to you, man.
Yeah, so I had 2 felonies by the time I was 13 years old.
Again, I have follow-up questions.
Okay, hit it.
What the fuck were the felonies?
So we one was the first one was burglar of a conveyance car.
Okay.
So we were I was in like a little gang and we were out stealing shit. And,
what was the name of the gang?
Oh God, Irish Shenanigans, and I'm Greek. Did not go over well. it was not a smooth move for a young Greek kid. But the reality is, you know, to think on a higher level, as a young man, I actually did the Street Cop podcast, and we were talking about this. As a young man, I was looking for a positive outlet in my life. Some father figure, positive role model to kind of take me over and like guide me. And I didn't have that. So young men are going to find it. If you don't have it in sports, you don't have it in team, you're going to find that community.
Yeah.
Because we're built genetically to have a community, be in a tribe. So I found it, unfortunately, in a negative area. Got involved with this stuff, started doing some criminal activity. Anyways, got pinged for that. Didn't talk. Got arrested. I was in the 6th grade. Dudes came in, put handcuffs on me in class, drugged me out.
I mean, you're kind of a baller now in 6th grade.
Right?
You're swinging a big stick now. People are like, stay away from Nick.
And that's what I thought at the time. I'm like, you know, I'm getting arrested in school. I'm like, I've made it.
That's right, bitches. Don't make me come after you.
And all 120 pounds of me. And anyways, the whole thing I got interrogated, no lawyer, no parent. It was wild, man, thinking back on it.
Yeah.
Anyways, got booked, went to juvie.
What was that like?
Honestly, like, there's a bunch of other kids. There were some big kids in there too, man. But I held my own, and you know, it wasn't. You know, I felt like a tough guy in there.
Was it just Lord of the Flies in there?
Not really. It was really organized. Like, they really, really like did a good job to make sure that none of the kids were getting hurt or anything. I did get a tattoo in there, which did not go over well during visitation with my mother.
And the tattoo was?
It was an I for Irish Shenanigans. Yeah, fucking double down, bro. I was all in.
Where did you get it? And I hope the answer is tramp stamp.
No, it was on my arm, and thank God it was with. So they used an ink pen with a plastic fork, which they had like basically it's twisted until it became like a broken off thing with a point.
What in the actual fuck is wrong with you? Letting somebody use that for a tattoo?
Yeah, bro. And then ballpoint pen, like they broke the ink stick and then like used the ink, which like is extremely toxic, and you know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so you got a shit tattoo of an eye.
Yeah. Thank God it like faded out. But yeah, my mom came for visitation and she saw it on my arm, and she like lost her shit. And there's all the other moms in the thing, and they were like, "You tell him, honey. You tell him. You get in his ass." Anyways, you know what's really shitty? This is while I was getting arrested and thrown in juvie. My grandfather was having triple bypass surgery, same day. So my mom's at the hospital with my grandfather, who was a Vietnam vet, awesome guy. He's getting triple bypass surgery, and her dumbass son's getting arrested and thrown in juvie.
For the first time?
For the first time, yeah.
And number 2 was?
And, so I was on probation, and I went to school, and I got busted with a weapon on school grounds, a butterfly knife, which was instantly another felony.
Okay, so you had 2 felonies early in your teenage years.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you could actually get into the military.
That's a different story, Andy. So anyways, I did all that. And the funny thing is all those dudes, like, I mean, I don't know if the full story, but allegedly they all talked. And I didn't talk, and I got thrown basically everything. So all said and done, came out of juvie, had 2 years probation, which, you know, as a young teenager feels like an eternity.
Yeah, it's longer than you're ever going to live.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I'm never going to get out of this. Anyways, it did straighten up my life, and really went down working, like just started working really hard. By the time I only finished the 10th grade. The summer of the 10th grade, I started working at Bay Point Marriott in Panama City, Florida.
Okay.
Our dive school. Did you go to dive school there?
Dive school for us is in second phase of Buds.
Oh,
so it's
no,
all
Navy divers go there. That's
correct.
Right. Yeah, Navy divers go there. So our combatant dive school is in Panama City, Florida. So anyways, was working there at the Bay Point Marriott from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then as an audio visual tech, and then from 2:30 to 10 p.m. I was a bellman.
Yeah, so there's no way you're going to school.
Well, this was the summer.
Okay.
And I'm making like $4,000 a week, 16 years old.
That's good money.
And then it was time to go back to school.
No.
Don't see the value.
Yeah.
Sorry. Dissecting frogs and cats, I'm not interested. I'm going to keep doing this. So I did.
What was your mom's thoughts on that?
I moved out.
Okay.
I was living on a house on the beach.
At what age?
I think I was just turning 17 or about to turn 17.
By yourself or did you have some friends?
No, I by myself initially, then I ended up getting a roommate.
I'm surprised you could get a lease.
Yeah, it was a kind of a deal. So I almost tried to buy that house. I went back and tried to buy it and missed out on it. Some foreign entity bought it. Strange.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so here I am looking down, you know, I did very well for myself early on, was making plenty of cash, have nothing to show for it. Don't even remember what I spent the money on, but it was all spent.
I bet it was awesome though.
It was, yeah.
I guarantee you had fun.
I had lots of fun.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on friends and whatnot. But anyways, I had a moment of clarity where I saw my life in the next 20 years very similar. Like I could see myself like moving up in those positions, you know, and I probably would have done well for myself, right, in that arena.
Yeah.
But it was all very the same. And to remind you, like my whole life up until I was 11 was like constantly moving. Like I lived a year in Taos, New Mexico. It's where I learned to ski, you know, and we just moved around everywhere, wherever we could, you know, live, and she could work. So I was very used to that. And I saw my life, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm 17. I'm going to be 37 doing the same shit, living in the same area. And I kind of panicked and just hit the nuclear option and went and talked to the, I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to go join the Marine Corps.
What year was this?
Had it been 98.
Okay, so pre 9/11.
Yeah, pre 9/11. 97, 98 is when I probably first talked to him.
Do you remember what triggered that, like awakening or that thought process? Was there something that happened?
I had been doing this job for a while, and I was just kind of like in this routine, like, you know, for months on end. You know, I was probably doing this for like 6 months at this point, and I was like, okay, this is my life now. And I think once it became like a very normal routine, like especially after I didn't go back to school and I kept it for a while, that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, this is just what I do now. And I did have this really clear moment of clarity, like being, okay, I'm 17, I'm going to be 37, and this is going to be my life. And I was like, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And so I went and talked to the recruiter.
I mean, you already got 2 things going against you. You got the felonies and no high school diploma.
I was a kid. Well, I had a GED, so
okay.
I took that summer and went and got a GED, which was I was like, this doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
so you got one of the 2. You still got those capital Fs you got to deal with, though.
But I didn't know about that. I'm like, I was a kid. So that's the whole thing. I was like, I was a kid. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I went and talked to him. He's like, you know, and I don't know how the Navy recruiters are, but they have this whole sales pitch.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the key values that you know, whatever. And I'm like, cool, man, I don't really care about all this. I just went in. He's like, so you fill out the paperwork and you run. And I'll never forget is Michael Klein and Gunner Sean Herrera came from the back, and the look on their face was just like, kid, there's no way you're joining any branch of the military. And this is during Clinton's era. Like they were downsizing everything.
Yeah.
You know, they were shutting bases down, the whole BRAC thing. Like, anyways. And so he told me no. And I was like, okay.
And I'm assuming they said why? It was the felonies, right?
Yeah, it was a felony. Like you're a high school, like GEDs was a hard no anyway.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, bro. GEDs was out. You got a GED, you're out.
Damn.
Out the gate.
Well, I guess in the downsizing military, I could see that justification.
So at GED, I had the 2 felonies, couple misdemeanors. What was the other thing? Oh, when I was going through this whole process, my mom thought that they told him like, well, he's a troubled youth and he's got ADHD. That's why he's so troubled. So let's put him on Wellbutrin. So they put me on Wellbutrin, which I guess is a version like an SSRI. And I took it one day and I said, Mom, this pill just makes me really angry. She was like, okay, we're not going to take that anymore. But it was one time. I took it one time, but it was on my record. So I guess they found out, or I told on myself.
That's what fucked you, is it being on the record.
Yeah. So I told on myself. Anyway, so all of this was going on. And then, they found out all this stuff. And they're like, okay, well, GD, basically you're a retarded person and you can't come into the military.
Yeah, stop wasting our time.
Stop wasting our time. It was the worst thing they could have done. That was it. Like you told me I wanted to do something and they told me no. And I was like, oh, okay, well, now you have become my mission. So for the next 2 years I worked on, so I got rid of that place on the beach, quit my jobs. I mean, I make fun, like I hit the nuclear option. I make fun of it. I'm like, I blew up my life. I moved in with my grandmother and I went from making almost like $4,000 a week to, I think at the time, $4.25 minimum wage at working at a movie theater at nights as a projectionist. Went to college, got over 100 letters of recommendation. So this 2 years mission, just took the ASFAB like, I don't know, 3 times.
How'd you get around the felonies?
Waivers.
Okay.
Waivers.
So even back then they had those waivers.
They had waivers, but it wasn't just like, oh, here's a waiver. No, man, I had to like denied, went back, denied, and then ended up doing like multiple interviews. I had to go somewhere and interview, I think it was like a lieutenant colonel. And I basically was just like, here's the deal, man. Like that was me then. This is not who I am anymore, nor has it been. I've got 100 letters of recommendation. You know, I've worked my ass off to become this person, this young man who's sitting in front of you, and eventually I got approved.
Damn.
Yeah.
So about a 2-year process.
Oh, it was a 2-year process, and kids, you know, I've made videos about this on YouTube, and kids hit me up and they're like, "Well, I got denied," and I'm like, "How many times have you been denied?" Once. I'm like, "How many letters of recommendation did you do? Did you do this? Did you do community service? Are you going to pulley functions? Are you doing all the?" No. Dude, they have nothing. Like they have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. Like you want to get in, you're going to be the one to have to do the work. Like they're not good. They don't owe you shit. You know. So that's what it came down to. It was a 2-year process, and it finally got my shot.
And then off to Marine Corps boot camp.
Yeah, hoorah!
How was it?
Beautiful.
Everything that you wanted it to be.
Everything I wanted it to be. Here's what. You ready for the shot in the nuts?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years to do this, right? To get in. Training day, I want to say 7, I broke my wrist.
How?
Horizontal butt stroke in the bayonet course.
Horizontal butt stroke.
Yeah.
Horizontal butt stroke. Okay.
Yeah, horizontal butt stroke.
I like the fact that you guys had a bayonet course.
I mean, this was 2000 still.
I mean, in the Navy, I think on day 7 we were doing soft serve ice cream.
Yeah, your hard time came later. Later, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
anyways,
so that probably set you back.
Yeah. So I ended up being on the island for 5.5 months.
Paris Island?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long?
5.5 months.
Oh, that feels like a lot.
So remember, when you're in recruit training, you have to speak in the third person. So for 5.5 months, I spoke in the third person.
That's rough. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seaman recruit Stumpf would like too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, this is an I, this is a recruit, this is an I, this is a recruit for 5.5 months. Yeah. Anyways, I made the best of it, man. I was like, kind of like being in, you know, kind of like being in jail. You know, you get to learn get to learn the routes, the cycles, who's who in the zoo,
Who can make things happen? Who to avoid?
Yeah, who to avoid. How what information you need. And I did. So I spent that 2 months and I was healing, and I basically learned everything that was going on the island, and then I just used it to my good and ended up graduating like #1 out of the company. But it wasn't even really fair because like I had all the answers to the questions.
Yeah, you had all the beta.
Exactly.
Did you, as a work in the Marine Corps in that era, did you pick your MOS or is it assigned to you later?
No, I picked it both. It can be assigned to you later. I picked it initially, but when I got hurt, keep in mind this was pre-war. We had boat spaces like they do at every branch. Mm-hmm. So I lost my boat space for infantry, which I was butthurt initially, but was a huge blessing in disguise later on in life. So I signed a contract for infantry, lost my boat space because I missed my training date. So they said, hey, you don't have an MOS, go see this guy. I remember this master sergeant was sitting behind a desk. He's like, recruit, I'm going to give you the best job in the Marine Corps. And I said, okay, aye, sir. Signed, walked away. Admin.
That motherfucker.
He was admin.
Yeah. He had a billet to fill.
Yeah, he had a billet to fill.
He had a billet to fill.
Oh, dude.
That is not the best job in the Marine Corps.
That is not the best job. He lied to me.
It's not even in the top 10.
Not even
jobs in the Marine Corps.
Not even close. But it worked out into my favor. Not initially. I got in trouble a lot. It was not the right fit for my personality. Not at all. Day one, I got in trouble. Showed up, called somebody fat, and got in trouble.
Well, the important question is, were they fat?
They were. She was.
That was the actual problem.
Yeah, she might have been a nice lady, but you got to understand. I came from I was so brainwashed. The Marine Corps completely programmed me and brainwashed me for 5.5 months. I was one of those really motivated young kids, and came out. I was company honor grad out of boot camp, and I show up to my duty station, and my first boss is a fat woman that can't PT. She's like, you work for me. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's pretty ableist of you.
Yeah. And
so far you're fat shaming people.
Yes. Especially in the Marine Corps.
We're probably going to get censored.
Sorry.
We're getting down throttled as we speak.
But yeah, so then that gunny was like, you're at the PFCK, you're at the bottom of my shit pole. And I shredded paper for 3 weeks.
What were you doing when 9/11 happened?
Oh shit, man. We were listening to the radio. How
long have you been in for? Or how long had you been in for?
1.5 years.
Okay, so early in your journey.
Yeah.
But you were still stuck in the admin pipeline?
Well, sort of. I was in the training department, Marine Corps training. So we had, even though that you're an ad Marine, you still had to do the Marine Corps stuff, PFTs and rifle ranges and things like that.
Every Marine is a rifleman.
That's what they say.
I actually am glad that somebody says that, because at least it reminds you that you are in an occupation that is combat arms.
Yes.
Do you know where they don't say everyone fill in the blank is a rifleman in all the other branches?
The seaman.
It's certainly not a motto of the Navy, and that's okay, because they're actually not riflemen.
Hey,
Most
listen,
of them are on their vessels.
There's a job for everybody, right? Everybody has a job to do. But so luckily there was a master sergeant that saw me shredding paper, and he kind of said, okay, kid, you're not a bad kid. You're just in the wrong place. So I did training for a little while, never learned my job. I was a shitty admin Marine. I remember I tried to take care of one guy, and he had a PCS, and he probably hates me to this day. He had to PCS his whole family and all his goods to California, and I fucked up his paperwork, and he didn't get his money to move. It's like $4,000 or something.
Yeah.
And
PCS, for people listening, is a permanent change of station. It means you're going from one duty station to another.
Yeah. And he didn't get any money, dude, because of Nick.
You need to find him.
Just give him $4,000. Hey,
just send him
this
cake.
happened 20-something years ago. Here's
just so you know, buddy, my bad.
My bad.
I do feel bad. I remember you. My bad.
Oh man, if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. What would the odds be?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did that. I got a very lucky opportunity to go to Turkey in 2002. Actually flew there on September 11th, 2002 to do security out there.
Well, how did it change for you during 9/11? So you were at work, you're listening to it on the radio.
It was weird. Nothing really, the base got locked down. Nothing really happened, but everybody was like, we're going to war, and we were like, okay, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that really mean for us? It was wild. It was a wild time. I didn't even see it until I think the next day, because I don't think I went home. So because we just had it on the radio.
Yeah.
We had no TVs or, internet wasn't what it was, then. And so we really didn't know. We didn't know what was going on. And but that's obviously when things started to change. It was a snowball after that. I got an opportunity to go to Turkey, support them out there. Actually worked, assisted a team to go in from the north. You probably know some of those guys. And came back and still didn't know my job, and luckily had a sergeant major, and said, literally his words was, because I had a different plan. I didn't know anything about force reconnaissance. And he said, don't be a pussy and go recon.
I like him.
So do I. Yes.
He cuts right to the
Sergeant Major
root cause of the issue.
He's pretty well known. Sergeant Major McAvoy. Anyways, he worked for Glock for a long time as their Eastern rep, but.
And you weren't even, it wasn't even really on your radar up until that
No,
point.
I didn't really know. Like, you see the pitch, like the things of the SEALs and things like
the
that.
Recruiting posters.
The recruiting posters.
Dudes in a Zodiac are coming out of the water in 1970.
Yeah, that's pretty much, that was, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. But anyways, he told me, and I said, yeah, that sounds like me. So I went and took a screening and selection, and passed, and that was it. Boom.
And what happens to you from there? Do they just basically route you into the pipeline? Whatever it was you were doing, now are routed towards that?
It was funny. So I basically got TAD orders to go through training. Did not re-enlist, so I lost my space, right? This was in 2003, right when I got back. And passed, went through ARS, which is not there anymore, but people know it as BRC, but I was actually in Fort Story. And passed and became an 0321 at Second Force. Came back to my unit to check out, and they said, no, you can't check out. I'm like, I'm an 0321. You don't have a space for me here. I can't be here. They're like, no, you didn't. So I had to call my team leader, Mitch Rollins, and say, hey, Mitch, they're not letting me leave. I don't really understand what they're like. They're trying to, I think it was like a big dick move. They're like, no, you can't leave.
This is a very weird number thing. No, this is what we have you as in our system.
Yeah.
They're like, no, clearly this is the number now. They're like, we don't recognize those
numbers.
Yeah,
we choose not to recognize those numbers.
Yeah.
And anyways, they were like, I guess, butthurt or something. And so I left and went to Second Force, and that changed the course of my life.
How long is the training pipeline for Force Recon? Embarrassingly, I know very little about it. Yeah.
So keep in mind, this is for every other listener. I know this is not the way it works anymore, but then you went through RIP. You showed up to a unit, checked in. You went through RIP, which was Recon Indoctrination Platoon. So it was basically they call it like a mini BRC or mini.
What does BRC stand for?
Basic Reconnaissance Course out in Coronado. Well, it used to be in Coronado.
Oh, on the base side of it.
Yeah, right next to you guys. Our guys used to steal your guys' helmets.
Yeah, why would you not?
I have guys that still have green helmets mounted on their wall.
Yeah, those are first phase guys, though. They don't even have names.
Most of them probably didn't even make it.
Yeah.
But apparently some bad shit happens to you if you don't have your helmet.
Yeah, but what kind of junior varsity dickhead doesn't have two? One is none, two is one.
Did you ever have your helmet stolen?
Fuck no. You know how valuable those things are as a student? And then I had my secondary and perhaps a tertiary.
Did you really?
Well, when people quit, they don't need their extras anymore. Oh,
that's smart. Smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Well, these guys apparently did not have. Maybe they didn't make it.
Also, let's play varsity level ball here and have an inspection helmet and a daily wear helmet.
There
you know
we
what
go.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's think outside of the
Those
box.
are the guys. Listen, I want you guys to listen. Those are the dudes that made it. Right?
Or at least had an easier time up until they quit.
Until they quit, yeah. Anyways, so so BRC was there. Now they're up at Camp Pendleton. They still do the amphib stuff down in Coronado. But anyway, so the Recon Indoctrination Platoon was ran at the unit level, and honestly, it was worse than BRC or ARS because it was like there's little to no oversight.
Yeah,
like some really gnarly shit happened in that course.
Yeah, I bet.
But once I went through, I was like, oh, this ain't that bad. They have like rules and shit, that they had to follow. So I went through the 3 months there. Actually, I checked in 2 months early. Got the piss ran out of me. I was not a runner. Still not a runner. Running breeds cowardice, so they say.
Unless you're running towards the sound of the guns.
Even then, like running is...
Maybe just walk.
Yeah, maybe just
or
walk.
Or find some dead space.
Yeah.
Like cover.
Cover to cover. Maybe sprints. I can see a sprint.
Short duration.
Short duration, yeah.
Only if your life is directly threatened. Then you should walk.
So I literally, they ran me so much that I would shit myself. I'd never ran so much. And I don't know if that's like a Marine thing or.
It's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing it from a prior Marine, so I'm going to associate the two, certainly.
It is a necessary amount of running.
You're saying running until you uncontrollably shit yourself.
Like diarrhea. Like you basically, you would not shit solid because you ran so much.
Would you shit while running or after?
No, it was after.
Okay, I thought you meant during the run.
No. All those days did happen, like quick jump into the bush. I'm sure you've had those days.
Why stop running?
I'm way more efficient if I can do it on the move. I have pissed while running.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. It is tough.
You got to really focus. Yeah. Michael's over there just like, God, you guys fucking disgust me.
It's all real stuff, Mike. I'm sorry.
It is what it is.
Anyways, so did the rip stuff. And oh shit, I can't leave this out of the story for the older guys that are around. On my screening in 2003, Marine Corps Times was there, and they were doing a big push for Recon. And I was coming up out of the water on my last portion of my 500-meter swim, and they took a picture of me with a stupid haircut. And I'm coming out of the water, like trying to, you're doing the breaststrokes. You come up and you're like, oh!
They caught you perfectly, didn't they?
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Landed on right in the cover of the Marine Corps Times before I hit RIP. So I check into RIP.
God, that's rough. That's a rough optic. They were waiting for you.
Oh, yeah. They came out of the office. We're all lined up in the platoon. They came out of the office holding the paper and said, who the fuck is this? And I immediately went to my buddy and said, that's him.
That's the move.
That's the guy right there. His name's Dan New. He probably listens to your podcast. I was like, that's him. So the both, and we did kind of look similar. We actually ended up doing majority of our career together, actually. And
you know what's worse than that picture? There was an actual Navy SEAL calendar conducted, photographed by active duty SEALs. And I'm not joking when I say that there was baby oil present.
Oh, we did that too.
It was...
I wasn't in it, but we did it.
If you were to see 3 dudes fucking each other, it was gayer than that.
Were you in it?
No.
No?
But let's just say copies of that would often be dropped in the operational spaces that the individuals in that catalog, or not catalog, calendar.
Now that I'm 41, I look back and I'm like, good for you guys.
No, absolutely not.
Fucking own it.
No. Absolutely not.
Ours was Rudy Reyes was on the cover of the Recon one that they did.
I love Rudy. He is one of the most bizarre human beings I've ever been around.
Absolutely. He's got a big heart, though.
He's got a great heart.
Got a great heart.
He's clearly out of his fucking mind. And if he was
Has he been on here?
No, not yet. But if he was sitting here, I would say that to him and he would go, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that's right. You said that sounds about right.
Yeah, he'd be like, yep, yeah, I am out of my mind. Moving on.
He was. I don't know if he did that calendar, but he was on the cover.
Wherever he is right now, what we can be sure of is that he's wearing a scarf.
And he doesn't have a shirt on.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Well, and probably shorts that have a hemline that is under 1.5 inches.
My daughters love him because he stayed with us for a little while, and every time my daughters would come home, you know how he acts, like he just loves everybody. They'd walk through the door, and he would be like, "Oh," he'd give them all a hug. Like he'd be like, "Why are you so happy to see me? We barely know each other."
He's a happy man.
And then the next question my teenage daughters would say is, "Dad, does he ever wear clothes?" I'm like, "No, honey, he doesn't. This is what we have to deal with. Sorry."
Yeah, he wears essentially silkies, ranger panties, however you want.
And a scarf.
And a scarf.
Yeah.
I've seen him with no shirt on and a scarf, honestly, more times than I care to admit. At semi-professional functions.
Well, I mean, for him, that's about the attire that you're going to get out of him, no matter black tie or beach workout.
Wherever you are, Rudy, I hope you're happy.
Yeah, same. Love you, man.
So you had a rough intro when you got to your unit.
Yeah.
Or your buddy did, depending on how much they believe your story.
we both. I paid for it dearly. And you know what's funny is like that picture would show up throughout my career, and I used to get like upset about it. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's not like you could have any control over that.
None. And I was just, I was like, oh, stop fucking putting this thing up here. Now I have it framed in my office.
It's funny how time does that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I hope that time has not had the calendar framed by anybody that was involved in it, because it's disgusting and an embarrassment to the SEAL community. Probably find it.
Oh, that was embarrassing to the SEAL. That's the one?
That was the one.
That was the one.
Of everything that's ever come out about the SEALs, that calendar is seared into my memory. Dude, it was like this type of stuff.
Same exact, like poses, everything.
Camo pants, though, like.
Oh yeah, bro. Holding fins.
Oh fuck! I think there was fins on it.
Yeah.
They were on the obstacle course, just like 1,000-yard stare over the horizon. It's like, God damn it.
Oh man, how many women do you think that just?
Not many, but a lot of dudes.
A lot of dudes.
Yeah. A lot.
If Grindr was a thing back then, bro, they would have crushed it.
God.
Crushed it.
Yeah, I guess they would have. I am ashamed.
Did your guys do, this was not me. This was maybe the generation right before me. But a lot of the second force dudes would go to the female units and on the weekends, and they would hire the second force dudes to go strip and make money on the weekends for the with the female Marines.
I mean, that's a fantastic hustle. I can't think of ever hearing of that, but I wouldn't put it past anybody.
That just means they were very like, this is black. Your black ops ain't black if everybody knows about them.
It's true.
So
I don't ever remember hearing that. It's entirely possible and plausible, though.
I mean, in the late 90s, that seems like a really good, like, money generating stream, extra stream for you guys.
Yeah. A lot of the guys would just run guns, though, and take them out of the armory. It's not a big deal. You know, it happens.
I did hear about that.
Steel demo. You know, it's like, who wants an M112 block? I do. All right. We'll put it on the open market. Fucking idiots. It's wild. It got wild for a bit. When did you have your first pump overseas? How much time did you get to train with the unit before you went?
Actually, a pretty good amount. So my first deployment was to Turkey. Not very dangerous. I mean, yes, but not really. Nobody was shooting at us. Just more of like terrorist threat type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so then went to Second Force, trained with them, and then had to go to 3rd Recon because they needed E5s to go out there to be team leaders and assistant team leaders. Did a MU, went to Philippines as a force platoon. And that platoon, we had been together for, I want to say a year, maybe more. We had to sign waivers because they needed a platoon to go to Iraq. So we went straight from the MU, had, I want to say like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And went straight to Iraq.
So the waiver was for basically not having any downtime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 99% of all of us were like, yep.
For sure. I would have been shocked.
Family? Yeah. Who cares about that?
If the Marine Corps wanted me to have a family, they'd issue me one.
And I did at the time, but all of us were like, nah, we're going to Iraq. We wanted to play in the football game.
Yeah.
And
everybody thought it was going to be over in a matter of weeks, days, months.
Yeah, right. So I did that. So I was in Recon 2 years maybe with a deployment under my belt before I went to combat.
That's actually good.
Yeah. No, we were
get a better understanding of the actual job.
We were the most senior platoon in the battalion at the time.
Where'd they drop you guys in Iraq?
Fallujah.
Well, all right.
Yeah, during the surge.
Yeah.
It was a rough deployment, man. I
bet.
No. Were you there at that time? There was a team right adjacent to us.
So I bounced in and out.
Okay.
We go back and forth.
I don't remember the team. I want to say it was 5. I think it was.
What year was this?
5. 2006.
I was over a development group at that time.
Okay.
So I was actually just finishing up my time there, getting ready to come back to the West Coast.
Okay. Yeah. We would do these target packages, and we'd have some guy, and then you guys would just be like, "Oh, we'll take those." I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks."
I mean, as long as you guys did the prep work for us, we'll just roll in and take.
Right.
It's like, is the mission planned? Let's take a look at
Is
that.
the guy there?
Yeah.
Is the guy there?
You guys,
We got it.
Wait here for a second. We'll be like right back.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, Fallujah was spicy, man.
Yeah.
Especially in those years.
It was really cool opportunity. So, we did the direct action stuff for a while, and it wasn't really working. And I mean, you've been exposed to that enough. It just kind of whack-a-mole. It just wasn't changing anything.
Yeah.
And then remember the 46 that crashed outside of Fallujah? You ever hearing about that? They got shot down with RPG.
I don't actually.
No, I think it was a Marine 46 that got shot down in Al Kharma, just outside of Fallujah. So our platoon ended up having to go out there, and that's when we really shifted from. We went kind of back to our roots and went to like really old school R&S, kind of utilizing that methodology versus like just kicking in doors and trying to shoot people. So we had a little operating base, and then we would send a team in, and then we would cycle a team out every 24 hours. So we were always in the village.
Yeah.
Never knew where we were. And we went from having like 30 IEDs a week to 0. Because we were able to just start swacking people.
Yeah. They were afraid to.
And we started making friends with the people in the village.
Yeah.
So we were, making friends with everybody there, talking to everybody, helping people out, and just hiding and doing the old school work, the harder work, really.
I think it's more
slow and boring.
It is slow and boring, but I think it is more effective. If you can get them to a place where they don't even feel comfortable implanting those things, then you're talking about making a meaningful difference.
Yeah.
Because the whack-a-mole thing, I mean, I don't know your opinion, but it's as if there is almost a never-ending supply of moles to whack.
Right.
Smarter, not harder.
And
again.
and when I was younger, I was like, oh, dude, that's the cool shit. Like, I want to go, ride in helicopters, slide down ropes, and kick in blow up doors.
It is cool.
It is fun.
It just doesn't get you to the end zone.
Exactly. And I learned, and it was cool because before I went into before we went over and crossed the bridge, I learned that lesson, which made my transition into special operations a lot easier than some people had. Some people still really wanted to do that direct action stuff, and I was just like, its effects in the battle space isn't really there, unless you're playing at a very high level,
Yeah. So where'd you go after that deployment?
Came back, picked up a platoon as a platoon sergeant, and then right after that, I came back to 2nd Force, but we had rolled up the flag and became 2nd Raider Battalion, what is known as 2nd Raider Battalion now.
Does that fall under MARSOC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I actually had to go through selection. So I showed up. I was, and they're like, "Oh, Nick, you got to go through selection." I'm like, "What? You got to be fucking kidding me!"
That's a rough meal to eat.
Yeah, I'm like, I was just a platoon sergeant. I'm an element leader already in this team. I'm already in the unit. My slack man is one of the instructors for selection. He's supposed to grade me. Are you kidding me? He didn't even go through selection.
Yeah, this
is a weird time.
Well, it's gonna be clunky at the very beginning because they got to establish the protocol.
Yeah. So, but you know what? I was butthurt initially, like any young man at that level would be. But once I went through, dude, I was like, this is where it's at. Like, this is required. This is the system they have in place, and the product that they create is awesome. And once I saw that system, I had full buy-in,
Yeah.
So
how'd your career progress beyond that once you guys became a part of MARSOC?
I was all in. That's the last half of my career was there, going back and forth to Afghanistan. And like I said, like the intelligence side of things and the, you want to call it reconnaissance, that methodology, asymmetrical warfare is really what, and we ended up being, you guys have probably heard about like the motorcycle gangs in Afghanistan. We ended up doing that. And that was one of my last deployments was doing that up in northern Afghanistan.
It's a gnarly place.
It was fun, man. Riding, like, something cool about riding a motorcycle off the back of a 47, man, into bad guy territory.
Yeah.
Like,
Very much so.
It's just very highlight of my life. One of very highlight of my life, and I had a great team. But that was definitely the one to call it on. Yeah. But I knew that was the last one.
How'd you know?
When it was time to go on deployment, I think this was my 7th deployment all in all. And I think when it was time to get on the bus with the team to go, and I went Advon, I wasn't ready to leave. All my other deployments, I was like itching to get into the fight.
Yeah.
This one, I was just, my kids were, getting a little older. I was in a good flow with them. Life was kind of good. And I was just like, I'm not really ready to leave my family. And that was the kind of sign that I was like, okay, maybe and I was right at, about to hit 12 years. I'm like, this is maybe done with this.
Was it tough for you to make that decision? Because for a lot of people, the 10 years, the go, no go, right? They go over that and they're like, well.
People say that. How long did you do?
17.
17?
But I was medically retired.
Okay.
I would have.
Done?
I would have gone and continued on. So I picked up a commission at the 12-year mark. So they reset your retirement calculator by 10 years.
Oh.
When the Navy giveth, they also taketh. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Of course. Bend over, sir.
Yeah. Here's your butter bars.
Yeah.
And we're going to take back a little time. So I was like, all right, whatever. And I would have done it. And it would have been rough. Like the last 5 years would have been rough. So in 2010, I was in 01. I went back to Afghanistan down in the Nabahar province. And I was just floating a little bit. I was like one of the only, if not the only person in that whole task unit that had set foot in Afghanistan. It was a junior force. And I had put a lot of the people that were over there through buds. It was a very junior force. Turnover's a thing, as you know. And, the older guys get out and the new guys come in. And it's like, but so I was over there as an officer and I was carrying javelins and a 300 Win Mag. It was awesome. I got to pick the high ground positions and just lay heat on these motherfuckers much as it was great.
That's fun.
It was spectacular.
Yeah.
I shot anti-tank missiles at people and then watched them fucking vaporize. I laughed so hard. I don't know what that says about me.
Do you sleep well at night, Andy?
Like a fucking baby.
Yeah.
What my only regret is? That I didn't kill more of those motherfuckers.
You didn't do it enough. Yeah.
I'm dead serious when I say that. It's, that's what I feel like I could have done more, but also the whack-a-mole thing is real. It had an impact, but I don't know if it was an operational or strategic impact. It had a tactical impact at the level.
What really got me, we had a State Department guy to come to our team, and he said, how did he put this? He goes, because we're in Balamargab, and he goes, tell me how do you word this? What is the strategic impact for the United States for you guys doing this job in Balamargab?
Good luck getting an answer from that from a boots on the ground soldier.
And I was like, motherfucker, it's your job. You as a State Department, you guys set policy. You're the ones that sent us here.
Yeah, we're at a tactical level.
Yeah.
Your level's above, strategic, operational, tactical warfare. Like I'm at the bottom rung of the bottom.
I'm doing
level
the job
here.
that you guys sent us here for. And if you don't know that, then that's a great fucking question.
Yeah.
Guy. I don't really like the State Department people anyway, but that's what they came and said. And obviously as as you continue in your career in special operations, you start seeing a lot more behind the curtain, and it's not all pretty.
It's usually been a donkey with a fly buzzing around its head. It's my experience. Even at the highest three-level agencies. Three-letter agencies sometimes.
Right. And I just kind of started to see a little bit of that and a lot of hypocrisy. And, we over that career, of time in war, we lost a lot of friends and a lot of people. And I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do this job anymore. I don't want to do this job. And I also don't want to be in a system that my progression, my professional development is based off a system and not my work. And I actually had somebody tell me like, hey, Nick, you care too much. You work too hard. And that's the reason why you struggle, because you push too much. He's like, or you could be more like me and not really care or do much. And I just get ahead.
Hard pass.
And I remember hearing that going, you're absolutely right. And he was right, because he just kind of floated and got, and I did push the envelope a lot. I always have. I still do. And anyways, and I was like, yeah, I think this is time for me to call it. And everybody's like, oh, 8 years. Just do 8 more years.
That's what I was going to say. So there was no aspect of the carrot of retirement and healthcare for you?
No, man, because I believed in myself too much.
What did you want to do on the outside? Had you put any thought into it?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of ops intel integration initially. Well, that's what I was doing on the team. I was kind of like the 18 Fox of what you would consider like a ops intel guy for SF team.
Okay.
Same thing. I was an ops chief for my last team. And anyways, I was kind of thinking I'll do something like that. I was going to school for intelligence, and I thought that's what I would be doing. So I got a job as a contractor with Palantir, if you remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I worked with them for about 1.5 years, and integrating that, doing ops intel for the military until that contract had abruptly ended on a Monday afternoon. without any, this is that was my first wake up to the civilian world was, yeah, you don't work here anymore. It's like, oh, cool.
Sweet. I did want some more time off.
I have bills to pay and kids to take care of. Shit.
Yeah.
But honestly, man, it was one of the, every bad thing that's probably ever happened to me is actually been like a really good pivotal moment in my life.
The only advantage we have with that is time. I feel the same way. I didn't feel that way in the moment.
No.
I needed some perspective. I needed some context. I needed some time away from it. But
Yeah.
I agree. I land at the same place.
But these things that have happened to me, like I'm talking like I figured that out years down the road.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look back and go, oh shit, that was really a good thing.
Yeah. Because you see the opportunities that presented themselves because
that wouldn't
of it.
have.
Yeah. And you're blinded in that moment.
I mean,
because
I got
you're full
out
of rage.
My first year out of the Marine Corps, I made $163,000.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what you were making in the Marines though?
I think I made 70 in special operations, 75, something like that.
Well, you don't forget the has duty pay, which was
bro,
a good
jump pay.
$125.
I got that $250 jump pay, son.
Yeah.
That was spicy, bro.
That's a solid night of drinking.
Man, my dive pay,
Yeah.
had all kinds of, and then my special duty for being a cool guy. Anyways,
So what'd you do after that contract?
started my own business. Started my first business. I thought I'd be a millionaire within a year. Such a great business plan, Andy. Like if you would have seen it, bro, I was like, this shit's gonna be wrapped up in a year, son. I'm gonna be making it. No, I did my first training consulting company. It was called, you might even remember, Survival and Tactical Systems. We were traveling around training people.
No.
I had a small staff. And then shortly after that, the Raider Project started, the nonprofit. And then and yeah, that's what I did. But really, it was a huge failure. My first company was a huge I consider it a failure. We did work, but there was like really no profit. Like we didn't really make money. Here's a funny story. I took a loan, a private investor loan. What was it called? Street Shares. You remember seeing them?
No.
It's like basically it was like a company that had a bunch of people could look at profiles and then say, okay, hey, short-term investment at like 10, 12%, private lending. So we put a package in. I got like 25 grand. My package was so solid that I ran a grant for like 4 grand, which took care of the interest on the loan. But you know what I did with it? You're going to laugh.
Hookers and blow?
No, that would have been a better time.
Corvettes?
Yeah. I bought guns for our shop.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking got gun. I had an FFL, so I bought guns. And this was maybe 2014, 15, maybe 15. I bought guns because that's going to turn a big profit.
It can, if you time it right.
No, bro, not 25 grand's worth. Like, not. This is the most stupidest thing ever. I'm like, this is a great decision. Anyways, hindsight, that was when YouTube was really kicking off. What I should have done was what all the other dudes did, was got a bunch of camera equipment, which we were dabbling in already, and just went all in on content. All in.
You could have been what's known as a influencer.
Yeah, right. I kind of landed there sort of anyway. But yeah, that was a huge, huge failure, man. Huge, absolute failure. But that gave me the infrastructure to start doing business. And I started kind of working with other businesses, and it was just the journey, man. One thing led to another. At one point I had 7 businesses I was running.
Really?
Yes. At one time.
Did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed the process. I still enjoy the process of business. You know what I mean? Now I'm a little bit more calculated in what I do, and like if it doesn't make 7 figures, I'm not really interested.
Yeah. Well, you learn that though by overextending yourself and doing things that earn 7 figures, but they have a negative in front of you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. None of these made 7 figures initially.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a millionaire in reverse.
A millionaire in reverse. Yeah.
People say, "What does that mean?" I owe a lot of fucking money.
I owe a lot of money to people.
Yeah. I'm what's called an upside down millionaire.
Yeah.
It's the new thing. It's fine.
But yeah, man, like we had 7 different businesses operating at one time. And it was just like, I was like, oh, I have infrastructure, I have customer service, I have all these different things. I'm like, well, stack on another one, just stack on another one. And I was really just, throwing shit at a wall, seeing what would stick. And eventually I got smarter and got some coaches in my life and mentors in my life that was like, maybe you could just do like a limited thing and be hyper focused on this one thing. I was like, oh.
Let me know if you've arrived at this place in your life, because this is kind of where I've landed, and I find it true even with like things. The power of subtraction.
Yeah.
Like carving away stuff.
That's like my job now.
Saying no.
Yeah. I pretty much what I do now is like, how do I get shit out of my life now?
Yeah.
Every day.
The best metaphor I have is t-shirts. I have too many fucking t-shirts.
Yeah.
So Michael's shaking his head because he knows 100%. I'm not talking about the ones we sell for the podcast. You're fucking fired, Michael. Okay, you're hired back on. Don't stop hitting the buttons. I fire him once or twice a week. He immediately gets rehired.
Every podcast, Mike is fired.
Usually right before.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But I hire him back, so it's fine. But like once a quarter, I will get a garbage bag, if not 2 garbage bags, and I will reduce the amount because it clutters. Like I have a dresser that it drives my wife nuts because I'll fold t-shirts and I put them on top of the dresser because I feel like I can see.
See, Allie, it's not just me.
But I can see the shirt that I want to wear. And for clarity, I wear about 4 shirts.
Same.
Even though I have about 400. And I love it that people send me shirts.
Do you know why I wear the same 4?
No.
Those are the ones on top because I keep.
Yeah, 100%.
And they get washed.
And
then
most
they're
of
going
the time,
back on top. So I wake up the same ones.
I wake up before my wife and I try to keep it dark.
Yeah.
And I go like this. And I find a t-shirt and I grab it. And I don't care if it matches. I put it on.
It's not required.
It's not required. No. And generally I'll find a pair of jeans. And since my son has started stealing my socks, that's a harder one now. So I hide my socks from him, that little fuck. But I'll grab whatever it is and I'll go get dressed.
Yeah.
And I fold. I have like a stack of very worn shirts and then other stacks of less worn. But it's the perfect metaphor that I feel overwhelmed when there's too many of them.
Yeah.
I feel better for no reason other than visually it looks more like I'm in line. It's more streamlined when I can trim that stuff down.
I have a lot of friends that are in the apparel business. So I have a lot of t-shirts.
It's like
every month we are cycling out. And I feel bad because I'm like, this is my buddy's shirt that he gave me. And I'm like, but I don't have any more room in my house.
If you don't do that, you'll have a room full of t-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
But it feels good. For whatever reason for me mentally,
the purge feels good.
It's like, you know what? I feel like I can actually find another gear.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's lighter. It feels like it's more streamlined and boom.
Do you do that with your keys?
I do.
You do?
I do. Because
I just did that.
How many did you have?
10?
Oh, that's Bush. Those are rookie numbers.
You pump those.
Those are rookie numbers.
I'm down to 4.
I had 30 at least at one time.
Really?
I would order geese that I had previously ordered and forgot they showed up.
They're not even open.
I would open them.
What's your favorite ghee?
I actually love the Origin geese.
Hot dog. I got rid of all of mine except the Origin ones.
Yeah. They are.
Are they a sponsor?
They are, but I was wearing them long before that.
Yeah.
They're not a sponsor of the podcast. And quite frankly, more than anything, like I really love Pete, the founder of Origin. And like it is idiotic to say that I'm I've considered more of an ambassador. I've been at jiu-jitsu for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Like nobody.
I just broke 3.
Yeah. Nobody should be looking at me like, oh, hey, we'll sponsor
Hey man,
you.
the word on the street is you're a mat ninja.
Well, I do practice ninjutsu. And I was told recently by Brian Callen, did you know that ninjas don't like crunchy leaves? Which it checks out.
that math makes sense.
That math checks out.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be a ninja. No, I'm not a mat ninja at all. I mean, I can fuck Michael up, but he's just like the size of a woman.
Oh.
You know, like as an average sized like female.
Do you have a support group? I feel like
I need one.
Yeah, I feel like you need to have some therapy, man.
It's actually beautiful. Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Michael, he modulates his pace well.
Yeah.
He gives me fifth gear for
How-
sure. I
how
would
long
like
you
to
been
think.
training?
Yeah, 3.5 years.
3.5 years?
Yeah.
He's got a few stripes on his blue belt there.
Have you beat him?
I don't think so.
No?
And you
I don't
never
think
will.
so. Yeah, it'll be tough.
It's tough.
Maybe the day will come when he's 80, 90.
I'm not so sure I'm going to live that long, but
Yeah, anyways, I've heard you're absolute savage.
no, it's not true. I'm just bigger than most people, and I've found that if I lay on them, it gets hard for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's like, yes. So I am an ambassador for Origin, but I
Support what they're doing. And not
would
just
be
because
ashamed.
they have
I would be ashamed to talk about how much money I spent long before I had a business conversation with
same.
them. It was
Yeah.
a reverse sponsorship, if you will. Meaning I helped turn the lights on and off with my credit card.
Yeah.
So, and then when Pete approached me, I'm like, listen, and I actually told him, I'm like, listen, do not put me in any like jujitsu advertising. Like I don't, because my biggest fear is being portrayed as something that I'm not.
Right.
Like I've been at this for 4.5 years. You have dudes on your stable. I can't even count the stripes on their black belt.
Right.
Let's use those guys,
Right.
and I'll try to support it
It's
the
like
best I can.
people ask me questions about stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm still trying to figure out what is what in there. I've been at it over 3 years and I'm still like
What belt are you?
blue.
How many stripes?
4.
There you go. Ooh, Michael, how many stripes do you have?
4.
There can only
Got
be
some
one.
competition.
Let's fight.
I was going to say there can only be one. Should we,
It could be only
the
one.
gym is one block away.
I've got a key.
You do?
Yeah.
If you lose, you're fired.
And then hired.
And hired.
We'll see.
Tomorrow.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
that's fair.
Well, I might have to put some thought into that. All right. He's going to fuck you up. He's bigger than you.
How much do you weigh?
Yeah. 180.
180.
165. Here's the thing. My favorite thing that people say with like size and strength doesn't matter. I'm like, come here for a second. It totally does.
It does.
That's why there's
That's what I tell.
that's why there's weight classes.
I'm a pretty big and strong guy, and I always tell them, I'm like, if I ever figure this jiu-jitsu shit out,
Hey, you're fucked.
You guys are fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's going to happen, but one day when I do figure it out, you guys are all fucked.
If it doesn't matter, why do they have weight divisions and belts? If size and strength doesn't matter,
I'll tell you
why
what
do they break it?
What I don't want to compete at is the heavyweight, the one that goes from like 225 to
You mean the
400.
absolute.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that because I saw my buddy who works with us in the company. He had to roll with like a 350 because he weighs like 235. And I'm like, and that whole scene,
That's too much.
I was like, dude, if you get under that, I mean, it's
Even if
at my level, it's over.
even at a high level, I feel like, and again, view this people listening and watching through the lens of, I've been out for 4.5 years. If that person on top makes a mistake or slips, it's too much. Like that,
Nope.
I think beyond 20, like when you start looking at a 20 to 30 pound weight difference, and my wife is a 2-stripe black belt. She's getting ready to get her 3rd stripe. I'm trying to remember what she said. I think she says for every 10 years and for every 20 pounds, it's about the equivalent of a belt.
Damn.
So you're talking 100-pound weight difference. Like, come on. Like
Yeah.
it's just leverage.
Yeah.
And mechanical advantage.
Right.
And weight distribution. If I had 100 pounds on somebody, oh yeah, I'm liking that day. They're not liking that day at all.
Even if they're really good,
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
it doesn't matter because you can do something like my body's not physically moving.
Yeah, you don't have a superhero cape just because you wear a gi top around. And I think more people would be better off if they remembered that. It's not fucking magic.
But hey, Pete, you're a savage. I wouldn't want to get under you either.
I've rolled with Pete.
How's that?
I mean, I would like to sit here and tell you that I really fuck him up. And I'm going to tell you that I fuck him up, but I'm lying when I say that. No, it goes the way you, it's like, dude, they're at a level
He's
where
massive, isn't he?
he's not massive.
No?
He's big, but it's not a matter of size. It's a matter, people say it seems like really high level practitioners can see the future. I can't see the future. They have just gone down these movement patterns so many times that they know the available options. And when I'm still trying to figure out what the available option is, they're waiting for me.
Yeah.
And so Yeah. They just toy around. They fucking
Yeah.
toy with me.
Are you going to the camp this year?
We're talking about it. Yeah, I've been the last 2 years. And it's,
I've never been. He's asked me 2 years in a row. Finally, he said, you got to come this year.
You should come.
So I'm coming.
I think they're upping it to like 500 people. There's going to
Holy
be an
shit.
even larger mat area, and you will get as much training as you can possibly tolerate. Like there are people rolling well past midnight every night. It's almost, you actually, what I would recommend is pacing yourself. Like actually set up, like I'm only going to train for this much, because there are people that,
Yeah, we're not young, man.
there's people that'll blow themselves out in the first 48 hours. And then you're just, the rest of the week is rough.
Nah. Yeah, I want to go the whole week.
It's worth it. And there is a good amount of time off. There's a morning session, the time off. You can get lunch, an afternoon session, and sometimes there's an evening session. That I think the Wednesday is a break. You go do a factory tour. It's good.
Yeah.
But you have to regulate yourself.
Noted.
Yeah, indeed.
Don't go in there all fired up.
You can go in there fired up if you want. Just
on
know
Mountain Dew.
know what you're getting into. There are some young men and women in there who will just not stop.
Yeah, that's not me, man. I can do pretty well. It's the aftermath that I have to deal with these days.
You mean waking up the next day?
Yeah. Like I just did 2 days of snowboarding, and I got out of the bed going, what the fuck?
Well, those are muscles you don't exercise very often.
No. I mean, everything. My hips, sides of my legs, everything, man. But it was fun.
It's because we're old.
Yeah.
We are old as shit. So COVID hits.
Oh, fuck. I'm going to take a piss.
Go for it.
All right.
So COVID hits. What were you up to?
Dude, before COVID hit, I was
Crushing business.
living my best life, bro. Long hair, beach time, family time, growing my businesses, surfing. Yeah, man. Do jiu-jitsu. And then, and then this thing happened. And when they said, the North Carolina, I don't know if you're familiar with the North Carolina governor, but he's a communist. And
Is he actually a communist, or are you saying this?
I'm just saying this.
Okay.
I don't know what he is. He's just an asshole. He's one of those politicians that's like rules for you guys, not for me kind of thing.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Yeah. And 100% that's what happened. And so he shuts the state down for 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks comes a press conference and does this like phase plan that they came up with. And then during this first press conference says nothing about training facilities. Just people asked, he just didn't answer it. Just nothing. So I waited another week, another press conference, still didn't say anything. I said, okay, screw it. At this time, so if those that don't know, I had a public training facility in Holly Ridge, North Carolina. It was about 2,400 square feet in a town of 2,500 people. Not a big place.
Yeah.
And so I had people hit me up. It's a small town. People are like, dude, I got to go to the gym, man. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, not going to the gym. Like, my brain's like killing me. I've got to get in the gym.
Yeah, they're losing their minds.
Lose my mind, right? This is my sanctuary. It's what I do to get all the bad stuff out. So I was like, I get that. So we went on the CDC website, looked at their guidelines of like temperature checking, ventilation, cleaning, all this kind of stuff. Bedros Koulian came out with something for Fit Body Boot Camp, his guidelines of how they were going to run their gym. So I was like, we'll just do this. Simple, At this point, there was no cases of COVID in our area. 0. So I opened back up, and next thing I know, got raided by the cops, local police.
How did that go down? They just showed up?
Oh, dude, sirens, guns, the whole...
Guns?
Oh, yeah. Like, came into the parking lot, came in, yelled at everybody. My manager was in the bathroom banging on the door. I wasn't there. I saw it all on video, which is on the internet. And, like basically he had a hand on his gun, and one of our local chefs, Chef Bud Taylor, he has this called food truck called CBT Burgers, which is phenomenal if you're in the Surf City area. He was doing curls, and they were like, put the dumbbells down. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm doing curls. I'm not a threat to anybody. Anyways, so that happened. We got shut down, and he gave me
what did they tell you? Like, hey, basically.
So once I showed up, it was the governor's order, the whatever order, and which was unconstitutional. And I said, "What statute do they break?" Long story short, we shut down. I talked to the actual chief, and then we kind of opened back up on a warning phase. If anybody warned us, anyways, that chief got fired. So then he came back again. They used a key card that they had found when I guess they had one from the previous owner like 10 years ago, and it still worked. And they gained access to. This is the story that I heard. We didn't give them a key card. They basically had a key card that they weren't supposed to have. Gained access to the gym in the middle of the day. Entered the gym with no warrant.
Uniformed officers
and a undercover, or not like a plainclothes officer.
Yep.
Came into the gym and then essentially shut us down again. And that's when like shit kind of hit the fan, because basically it was the Fourth Amendment. They broke the Fourth Amendment. And,
so how did that play out? Because I remember you speaking openly about it online, but I never heard how it actually resolved itself.
So unfortunately, and we haven't publicly. This is I guess with me talking about it. So it was a 2.5 year legal battle, and my lawyer was shit. They're horrible, and then the federal judge basically wanted it to go away. They offered me to settle. They offered me $100.01.
Where did they get that number from?
I guess, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but there's some sort of legal thing that they have to give you something to say that this was settled, and it came out to 101. I don't know what I'm sure there's some state lawyer out there, a federal lawyer that goes, well, it's because of this. I don't know what that answer is. We're actually going to do a podcast with my lawyer, my actual lawyer I have on retainer, not the one that handled the case, to talk about the specifics of this and what we did and why we're doing it. But I basically, after 2.5 years, I had to withdraw, because if I accepted their $100.01, I could never speak about it again. It was a gag order.
And it would have been considered closed because you would have accepted their offer.
Yes. And if I would have accepted that, I could never, if anybody asked me what happened, I couldn't tell them.
Yeah, fuck that.
I was like, no, fuck you guys. And so essentially, they wanted to all make it go away without me knowing. My lawyer that was on the case accepted the deal. I said, yes, I'd be willing to settle, and let me see the circumstances. So he told the federal judge, yes, we accept what they're offering.
Those are two very different statements.
Yes.
I would consider, and yes, we will accept.
So he went to the federal. This guy is a piece of work.
How'd you find him?
So unfortunately, the way it happened was I actually had a decent lawyer initially. They had a falling out. He left the firm and started his own firm. Because he was the partner, it was recommended that I stayed with the firm that launched the case, and that he was the senior lawyer. And then after that other guy left, it went downhill fast. Anyways, so that's how the cookie crumbled. And then I got the thing, and I said, there's no way. I had my lawyer that I have on retainer for business read it, and he's like, there's no way that you can sign this. If you accept this, you will never be able to speak about what happened at that gym publicly. And I would much rather lose the case and waste, all the money, and be able to continue to like talk about it.
Yeah. Then take $100
and take $100 and as a gag order. And what I did was the remaining funds that were for the case, I gave it to, I talked to my wife. I donated all the other funds. Again, this is not public. This is the first time it's being talked about. I donated all the funds to the Apogee Foundation. I don't know if you know about that.
I don't.
Tim Kennedy's and Matt Bardou's things.
Oh, that's right. The school.
Not the actual school. The young men's program, the coaching program for young men.
Got you.
So it's a year program. They have a foundation for kids who can't afford it. And I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, if we ever want to really fix this shit, we have to start investing in our youth.
Yeah, it's a generational fix.
So like I want to start thinking like 20, 30 years down the road. That program is one that's doing it. Like they're teaching these young men how to be true young men, be true men. And I feel like that was, if I'm going to really make a change, that money should should go there. So that's what we did. So I'm going to continue to talk about my next goal now is, and I don't really care who knows. My goal now that this is all done is have the town disbanded.
Is that even possible?
Yep. Takes 2 signatures. One is already on the table. I just need to get one more.
And then what
the
is
county would take over.
Okay.
This is a small town. So
it would take away any authority from somebody in the town, and it would go one level up, essentially be absorbed into the county.
So we have a bunch of little towns in that area. So like Sneeds Ferry, Hampstead, they're not incorporated. They have little towns, but they're not incorporated. The county is the one who services the area.
Gotcha.
So the county would just pick up this. For some reason, our little town is incorporated. And because of that, there's all kinds of corruption, millions and millions of dollars of extra property tax. They do nothing for the town other than just cause problems. During COVID, no other towns had issues. We did.
Were they able to effectively shut your gym down, or did you keep it open?
So I kept it open to a point. Because they couldn't get I was willing to go to jail. Like, sure, this is never going to go anywhere. There's no statute to charge me with.
Yeah, you're not breaking a law.
I'm not breaking a law, so it's not going to go anywhere. And I knew that. Unfortunately, my wife was 3 months or about to have our child, so she was like, if you go to jail, we can't get you out. I go into labor, so she was beside herself. So they really couldn't get under my skin anymore because I was pushing the envelope and pushing and fighting back with them. They turned their attention to the members of the gym. So they were starting to take pictures of their license plates of who was at the gym. They were going to ticket the people that were at I'm like, with what? What are you ticketing them for?
This is not the role of law enforcement.
No, not at all. And there's real crime. We have real crime in our area. We do. There's real crime. There's a lot of meth. We had a trailer down the road blow up. It was a meth trailer. We have shit going on that they could be focusing on. And I'm not against law enforcement. I'm a big supporter of law enforcement. My company support law enforcement. That's not the issue here. It's these individuals and the individuals that did this kind of work. Our buddy Greg Anderson was one that pulled the plug on all of it. Anyways, so where was I saying? Oh, so when they turned the attention to the members, that's when I started having a problem. You can fight me, but when you start harassing tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, that's where I was like, I can't be allowing them to come here if they're going to be getting ticketed, harassed.
Juice isn't worth the squeeze on that.
No, I'm because of my personality and what I've done in my life. I'm all in for a fight. I kind of like it.
But your fight spilling over onto other people.
Other people. That's where I had a problem with it. So we did close up shop. For a period of time. And I don't remember, it wasn't very long because I think shortly after that, Jim started to, I think as a group, we subpoenaed the state and anyways, we got in one of their phase programs where you could open the gym at certain capacity. So it was shortly after that North Carolina fit, but it was the last. Strip clubs and tattoo bars were open before gyms.
They're essential.
Yeah. They actually.
Where are you going to get an eye tattoo? If you don't have a reputable location.
It's come full circle. So they did say that. They said ABC stores. North Carolina is a controlled state.
Fuck yeah, you need to have your booze, dude.
They said that the reason why that they kept those open is because if the alcoholics were going to detox, they would overwhelm the hospitals when they're trying to take care of COVID patients.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Checks out.
And if you look at the state revenue during that time,
I didn't know you were such a conspiracy theorist.
Hockey stick, bro.
I'm joking.
It's just numbers, man. Anyways, so yeah, that was
Gym's back open now, though. I'm assuming.
No, I closed it.
Closed it. Hard shut.
Yeah, closed it, man. It was shortly after that. Once we were back open.
You post pictures from the gym all the time, though.
It's my gym. Private gym.
Such white privilege.
Yeah, I know. Must be nice, right? That's what people say. Must be nice to have your own gym. Yeah, it is fucking nice.
My response to that would be, I hope so.
Yeah, we kept it for the team. The franchise I was under tried to sue me for $120K. That didn't go anywhere. They actually called me. I think that company is damn near bankrupt. They did not handle the shutdown very well. They were very
as did many.
Yeah, they were very almost pro, which I don't understand. I'm like, this is your whole business, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of anti your business model.
Yeah. And they called me. One of the VP called me and said, because he said I was all over the news. He was like, "Yeah, I think we just need to lay low and shut it down and just wait." I'm like, "Dude, my employees need to be paid. They have rent due. I got rent due. They got rent due. People want to come. What the hell?" He's like, "Yeah, I think it's better for everybody if we just stay quiet on this." I'm like, "Yeah, fuck you."
So did you just take, once you guys made that decision to hard shut, did you just lateral the energy you were spending on the gym to your other business ventures?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you do, right?
No, it was it kind of very calculated all at one time, because when that happened in March and everything was happening, we as a company made a decision that we just were going to skip it. We sat down with my executive staff. I said, "I just want to make sure we're all on the same page," and which we were. I was like, "We're going to go all in on this, and we're going to skip whatever the government's playing." And now there was some obstacles. Like we had some manufacturing, and some goods issues that we had to navigate, but we had our biggest year ever. So even though that, I was in a legal battle on one side and losing a business, and I sold a business as well, and so essentially lost a business, my other one had a huge hockey stick. I mean, we broke into 7 figures that year.
That's awesome, man.
I think it was that year. Maybe the year before that, but it was still a huge fucking year.
What kind of business was that one?
Johnny Slicks.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the reason why I like
it's for people like you who have beard privilege, who can actually grow.
Do you use soap, Andy? Do you wash your body?
Yes, of course.
Well, then you're a Johnny Slicks customer.
No, it's for beards only.
No.
I don't know if you know this. I know a lot about it. It's beards only. You did an ad for it yesterday.
Don't listen to him. It's definitely, we have 2 beard products out of 30 something.
Serious beard privilege.
But yeah, man, that's why I follow Origin. I support them so much. So we're American made, American manufactured. We do everything ourselves. We fulfill ourselves. We're all pretty much all in house, and so same business model, just for fucking soap. I mean, we make millions of dollars selling soap.
People do need to wash their ass.
Yeah, we're actually coming out with a post, I guess, combat sports. Yeah, jiu-jitsu, but like, anything that you're coming in contact with other humans.
Does it smell like victory? Because if it does, Michael can't have any.
We really need to talk after the podcast.
His can smell like loss and defeat, which I don't know what that smells
I
like.
need help, Nick.
I can tell, man. You're struggling over there. Is your heart okay, man?
No,
He's
broken.
fine.
I'll give you a hug afterwards.
He's fine. He'll probably try to get in on some underhooks.
Starts crying on my neck.
At least we can grow beards.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true. I can't. My 19-year-old son can just glorious beard. I just look like I'm Amish.
But anyways, so yeah, American made company, selling fucking soap. It's a great story.
What are you the most excited about now that you're in your 4th decade of all the stuff you're doing?
What am I most excited about? What a fucking question, Andy. Jesus.
Well, I mean, you get your businesses, you get your podcast. There is a maybe not a direct tie between those two, but one builds on the other.
Really, I don't know if it's excitement or if it's something that really just hits home. The coaching business that we have for and what we do in men's lives.
So I was going to ask you about that as well.
Yeah. Like that, when I see like what happens behind the wall of these guys and their relationship with their kids, it hits me every time, man. And so that's probably the biggest return, and it's not even a monetary thing at that point. I guess that's where you get into your life where your biggest returns are not monetary.
I think the least valuable thing in my life at this point is money.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I am completely aware that money makes the world go round.
Well,
and you need,
but
you get to X amount of it to do.
But you get to a point to where money is now, it's like a digital currency of things it's a thing that you need to make other things happen.
Or it's the tool that gets you time.
Yeah.
It's the tool
buys you time.
That's actually what I care about. To me, my definition of wealth is, and I don't know what number.
Like we were talking about before, it's like, how much shit can I get rid of so that I can do the things that I really care about?
Yeah. Wealth to me is an amount of money that allows me to do what I want with my time.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I like things. I will buy things from time to time. And
lots of geese, apparently.
Well, now I get them for free. Oh. And I have a lot of them. But so what I do, I donate them. I donate them to the gym. Having the portal of a wife that coaches at the gym, it's like extra rash guards, extra gis. They go to a great place. And it's funny, gis from a few years ago are still wearing fantastically well. Like those suckers are hard to wear out. As long as you wash them, you filthy savages. Don't let a gi sit in your car in the summer months all day.
Oh man, could you imagine getting in that car afterwards?
Or in the gi after you do wash it and then you heat it up a little bit with your body heat and it just smells like a hobo's ass.
Oh, that's why those people stink.
Maybe. Potentially. It gets in there and the only
give them some Johnny Slicks. We're going to fix this.
The only thing that you can clean a gi with after that is the garbage can. And you just need to move on.
Just let it go.
You have to.
Let it go.
So talk to me about the mentoring program.
So over the decades, there's been a systematic approach in this country to make men non-masculine and remove them from power, essentially.
Who would you say is behind the curtain on that one, pulling the strings?
I don't know if it's one individual as it is maybe corporations and government as a whole, because they want control, right? If you want control of a people, how do you gain control of them? You can't have strong men in the mix if you want control, because a strong man, especially a community of strong men, go, no, that's not in the best interest of our community and our families, so we're not going to participate, or you're not going to do that.
Yeah, if you want control, you need compliance.
Right. So what have they done? Make men docile. Like, you look at it really started, it started long ago, but look at the beginning of The Simpsons. This like doofus husband that the wife has to do everything and like control everything because he's just a complete idiot. Idiot father, idiot husband, idiot at his job, and it trickles down the road to all that. Now you've got guys that almost every man, you walk down the street, almost every man is overweight. Every man.
More than half of the U.S. population is overweight.
Right.
Even by the standards, they keep kind of drifting up.
Right.
So that they can say less people are overweight. That's not really the case. You're just moving the yardstick.
And what are men focused on? Pleasure.
Probably, yeah.
Drinking, drugs, gambling, pornography. Any distraction they can get from what they're having to deal with. And what happens is, the reality is there's a warrior inside every man. And I've gotten away from like the whole military vibrato tough guy thing. Like, I don't really give a shit. So like, I get comments like, this dude, like I got one of my coaches, he was a client, he was 305 pounds, was with us 2 years. And now he's one of our coaches. He's one of our best coaches because he's lived the life. Mm-hmm. And so his perspective on being that kind of husband, being that kind of father versus what he is now is awesome. And I get comments like, well, that guy never even went to Iraq. What the fuck?
Who cares?
Who gives a shit? That's not a measure of a man. Hate to break it to you. Yeah. There's plenty of guys who went to Iraq that are shitty people.
0.05% of the U.S. population is even wearing a military uniform.
Right.
You could say that to a room of 100 people.
It's a very limiting perspective.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the reason why I say, like, being a warrior, being a badass male has nothing to do with the military.
Do you think there's a warrior in everybody?
I do. And I really do, deep down.
I don't know if I agree with you on that.
It's okay.
There's some just pussies out there.
There are. But I think they're waiting to be tapped into.
You think they're warrior pussies?
I think they're warrior pussies. Yeah.
That might be a t-shirt. Did we just come up with an idea?
Another fucking t-shirt. Jesus, Andy.
You know who would wear that shirt?
I do. I mean, not to.
You know who would wear that shirt though, Nick?
Who's that?
Michael.
I knew that was coming.
Damn, bro. Damn.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Actually, I would take a picture of him in that and he would model it.
I'd model it.
I know you would.
Only for Andy.
But I do. I think maybe not to the capacity that somebody else is, but I mean for their own. Like, who are you really judging yourself against?
Myself. Exactly.
So they need to judge themselves against themselves.
Yeah.
If they can be better today than they were yesterday, and then tomorrow better, then we're making progress in life.
Fastest route, I think, to unhappiness is judging yourself against others.
There you go. And so these guys, you got a guy who's a father, who's overweight. It's the same old thing. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to my own personal development because I work all day, and I'm speaking generic, so My wife's at home with the kids. I work all day. I come home. She's exhausted. She needs me to come home and help her with the kids or whatever. But what really happens? Guy's exhausted. He comes home. Wife's bitching. He sits on the couch, opens up a beer, turns on sports or some bullshit, and checks out because he's exhausted. He's just done. Mentally and emotionally, he's tired, right? Kids are screaming and yelling, wife's screaming and yelling. And I'm not saying this is everybody, but it's just speaking generally. When he looks in the mirror, he knows he's not living up to who he's supposed to be. There's a lot of pain there. And like you said, it comes from a lot of different things. It comes from, your past. And they're just hurting. They're hurting. And when you get them behind closed doors and you get the vibrato, all the bullshit down, and you break all the walls down, and I'm sure you've been in groups of, with men and seen that happen. Like, dudes get really emotional and they get real honest and get real vulnerable. But that's when shit starts to change. And that's when we can start to go to work. And that's what we do, man. Me and my, actually was a former teammate, started this company 4 years ago, and it's slowly evolved into what it is today. And we have these 4 pillars, and we just remove excuses and we remove limiting beliefs. And it's not this like macho man fucking bullshit. I mean, all we want to do is empower them to be the very best version of themselves, to set the standard at home. And the reality is we get them to realize they have to be the very best versions of themselves so they can serve their family, because it's not fucking about them. It's about their wife and it's about their kids. That's what it's about. It has jack and all shit to do with them. You have to be in shape. You have to be a badass so that your kids look at you and go, oh, that's the standard. And you see it. You see it with fathers who are doing, burpees in their living room or push-ups in the living room. What does the little kid do?
Same thing. They mimic.
They mimic, right? So, we have the thing called the Squire program. You've probably seen that. Yep. We just brought it to North Carolina. So I just licensed it in North Carolina. So we'll be running 3 Squire programs a year in North Carolina. And if I look at a dad who looks like a pumpkin, their kid looks like a pumpkin.
It passes on for sure.
If the dad's just sitting there watching sports or on his phone all the time, what does the kid do? Same shit. What does my kid do? If I'm doing burpees, he's doing them sort of. He's like, does his mimics, It's the same thing. So what we've done is we've just taken their priorities, looked at their routine, and go, does your routine match your priorities? Because every time I'm like, hey, write your priorities down. And then tell me what time you wake up, what time you go to bed. Tell me every 15-minute increment in between. And I'm like, dude, you're full of shit. If these are your priorities, then why aren't you living like we were talking about time?
Yeah.
Like, this is what's most important. Well, I have to do this. Do you have to do that?
Instagram's not going to scroll itself. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah. I call it finger fucking your iPhone.
That's a pretty accurate description, actually.
Yeah. Like, how much time, and that's what we do. We try to trim the fat in their life. Well, I don't have time to work out. I'm like, okay, let me look at your life.
Yeah.
And I guarantee there's a bunch of bullshit in there that doesn't serve you, that has zero ROI.
Not having enough time and not managing your time appropriately are two very different things.
Right.
But
they lie to themselves saying that, like, I don't have enough time.
Oh, I'm as guilty of it as anybody. It's actually one of the easiest lies to tell to yourself. Yeah. Or here's my favorite. I'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But will I, though? Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
But once we get these guys in and we get them living that life, the life of purpose, and we just start removing things, and a lot of it comes, like, we do the nutrition stuff, we do the training stuff, but honestly, the work happens in the calls. When we do our group calls, we do 2 group calls a week for an hour. And that's where we talk about the things of serving your family, removing, because, like, you've heard it. Every guy has limiting beliefs. Hell, I think
every human has limiting beliefs, actually.
Some of us are even, like, some of the special operation guys are actually some of the worst. But, like, can't get the girl, can't have the body, can't make the money, can't, because I'm big boned, I come from certain things, I don't have the education. All this is bullshit. That's all bullshit. The difference between somebody super successful and somebody who's not is a mindset. It really is.
There's often some luck in there too, or but again,
I don't feel like I've ever like luck.
I don't mean for you necessarily.
Yeah.
There are certainly people who can come from places where things are a little bit more greased in that direction.
Sure.
But they
can fuck it up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even if you're the luckiest human being on the face of the planet, your ability to completely erode all that and fuck it up still absolutely exists.
Yeah. And be miserable as well, because you're not living your life with purpose. You're not living your life with objectives. You're just kind of floating through, which is going to land you in depression, anxiety, and, all the other issues as well. But we get these guys living that life, realign their priorities, trimming all the fat in their life and then getting them focused. And then what happens is when we get them, they go from their kids, I'm thinking about twos particularly, calling their dad, like, Dad, you're kind of fat. Like poking them in the belly, like, oh, it's squishy.
That's rough.
To going, same kid, putting him to bed, going, Dad, when I grow up, I want to have abs like you.
Yeah.
Dad, when I grow up, I want to be like you.
The things you do are way more powerful than the things you say.
That's what we say all the time.
Yeah.
Like kids don't always listen to you, but they see everything that you do.
They're sponges.
And they hear everything you say.
Yeah. To a degree, and I say this based off of my own behavior at my low points around my kids, they see, hear, and mimic more than you would ever want them to.
Yeah.
It's very easy to say, oh, they're young. They are young.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're not sponges.
And a little bit because of my own life and coming up, this is also very important to me. And I didn't do everything right with my first two. I was young. I was 20 when I had my first daughter. And I took a lot of the freedoms and things that we had for granted, in this country. So I didn't impart some of the lessons that I did. And I've had to struggle on the back end of that, trying to teach them some things.
Yeah.
But that's, life. As you get older, you get smarter and wiser. And
Sometimes.
if you try,
It's painting with a broom there. Some people don't.
But that's where we got them.
Yeah.
But those guys that come in, I mean, we got any guys from 30, late 20s to, I've got a 72-year-old in our program.
That's wild.
Yeah. We got a 19-year-old kid to 72-year-old. This kid he's joining the Marine Corps. But the concepts and the stuff that we have talked about in that group, I'm like, dude, you might even have a hard time in the military. I might keep my finger on you in case you start having some leadership issues, because he's mentally so far ahead of his own awareness and his own belief pattern. And so many people have limiting beliefs of what they can achieve. And that's really what holds them back. That's what held me back for so long, was truly I had some limiting belief factors that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
I thought that the one for me was because of how I was raised, and not because somebody did something. It's just my life. I believe that for me to achieve a certain level of success, I had to work 10 times harder than, say, you. For me to achieve something, I had to work 10 times harder than you for me to achieve it. But I manifested that. I manifested my own hardship.
Yeah. And what you were doing is, again, measuring yourself against somebody else. It was a value judgment.
Right.
Instead of looking in the mirror and seeking or judging value, you were looking through a window.
But as soon as I dealt with that shit, and realized that it's me against me, and first of all, the universe isn't like formulated to go against one person.
I feel like it's designed to go against me sometimes.
We need to work on some of your limiting beliefs.
The universe was specifically designed to fight me and my desires.
But that's just simply not the case. It just doesn't give a shit. It doesn't care, man. It doesn't care. And once I realized that, dude, like things just fucking like, I felt like I got on a freight train, man.
Well, where can people find this group?
The Agogi.com. And do you remember the whole Agogi thing?
Yes.
Tapped into so that's the reason why we named it that. It was like this training camp and a lot of people talk a lot of shit about it. I don't really care. But it was this training camp for young men to become warriors. That's it. We're taking men to put them in a camp, essentially, to make them warriors again in their own right, in their own world. Yeah. And that's what's awesome to see, is these fathers come back around and go, Dad, I couldn't even like play with my kid. Now me and my son ran a 5K together. Like they're on the group, like in tears, talking about their relationships with their wife and relationships with their kids. Like,
that's just hard to judge. or not hard to judge. It's hard to measure how
Yeah.
impactful it is.
So when you ask me like what I'm most excited about, those changes, watching those lives change like that. Because if we haven't learned anything in the last 2.5 years, they really caught us with our pants down. But the good thing that this happened.
Not Rudy, because he didn't have any on.
He didn't have any on. He was ready. I was fucking ready.
He's like, I've been waiting for this for years.
I think it's a good thing, though. I really do think it's a good thing, because I think based off the men that we have in our group and the men that I've talked to, I feel like we, including myself, we were all kind of living fat on the hog and really just kind of sleeping on a lot of things. And it woke up a lot of people.
The saddest thing about the last 2.5 years, is that the answers to the test were presented to us.
Yeah.
These are things that you have 100% control of in your life. And coronavirus, people can agree, disagree. I don't give a fuck.
I don't care either.
Things that you can do and control in your life that not only will make you less susceptible to long-term damage, injury, death from coronavirus, but all cause mortality.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you can do. The number of people who didn't do anything is sad.
Bro.
And I say that meaning I don't know what to do about that, but it is heartbreaking to see people presented with the answers and ignore them
Anywhere.
and continue on a path that's going to lead nowhere good.
We've had people come on board that men straight up said, hey, listen, I bought into the bullshit and I gained 40 to 100 pounds, anywhere from 40 to 100 pounds over that period of time.
Which was like the most dangerous thing you could do.
That will cause you to have more problems.
Yeah, COVID or not.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what that's my fight now is helping men fix themselves, and then helping men fix themselves, and then really doubling, and then now this past year really pivoting, doing that, and then adjacent to that, focusing on young men.
Well, that's the generational fix right there.
Like if I would, am I going to fix America by myself? No, but I could
that's self-limiting ideology.
I could put a fucking dent in it.
I got this group you need to join to talk about your limiting ideologies there, Nick.
But I mean, if all of us are continuing to talk about this thing and to teach these young guys, young men, and then hold people accountable, I think that the biggest thing that we stopped doing was calling other men on their bullshit.
Yeah, somehow it's become one of the worst wrongs that you could do to somebody else. And there's a way to do it where it has a really negative connotation and impact, and there's a way to do it tactfully and communicating and finding what connects with that person. The feedback can be the same. The delivery vehicle can be different.
It's been done to the individual.
It really is.
Yeah.
But if you care, you have to find that way to deliver that information.
But honesty, like, if you see a guy, for instance, this is the easiest one. You see a guy, like, he's married, maybe starting to talk to a female that works, and he's a friend of yours. Like, none of my business. That's what people say. None of my business.
It is if it's your friend.
Yeah.
Friends tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
If you care about an individual, then you will tell them the truth and hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Not because you're an asshole, because you give a shit about their life and you don't want them to light their whole life on fire. And a guy, one of my tier 1 clients, he's lost, I want to say 70 pounds. He looks completely different. Went on a sales call, talked to this guy. He's like, Tim, what have you been doing? I joined the Agogi. Told him what he's doing. He's like, man, I wanted to, I almost said something last time I saw you that you looked like you were going to die. And he didn't say anything. And Tim was like, bro, you thought I was going to die? I look that messed up and that sick and that overweight that you...
You're just going to go ahead and let that one walk on by, huh?
Yeah. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like that. Yeah. Would he have liked to have heard that? No, but that could have been a wake-up call. It could have been like, hey, man, you don't look so good.
What you want to hear and what you need to hear are often very different things.
Exactly. And I think that's where I've gotten to where now I'm just going to tell people. Because I give a shit about human beings. I really do truly care about humanity. And I care about this country, and I care about where the direction it's going, and I care about people's families and the way they're raising their kids. Like, I truly give a shit. And that's the reason why I do what I do now, is because I just fucking care. And like I've gotten more emotional as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
You know.
I have too.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, the correct reason to want to do something. It's because you care, and it's not just based off the money. And guess what, people? It's okay to make money doing something that you deeply care
God
about.
Forbid. Well, otherwise I can't take care of my mom. I can't donate to these organizations that I want to support. Like we
You can't come to Montana for vacation, which, by the way, how did you select Montana? You live in North Carolina.
I have been wanting to snowboard at Whitefish for some time now. So
Smart man.
And then I think I wanted to come during the COVID year, and I couldn't. So I usually go out to California. East Coast snowboarding sucks.
I've been told that by many people who are
I've
from
done
the
it.
East Coast.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times, but it's cheaper almost just to fly to like, John Wayne and drive up to Big Bear.
Yeah. Well, you just can't match the topography of the
Yeah,
East
exactly.
Coast.
So anyways, I've been wanting to come here for a while. I knew Dana and Rob had some Airbnbs, so I grabbed one of theirs, and it was easy. It was easy.
Awesome.
And plus, you're out here. I came out here just to do your podcast.
Of course.
Andy.
Well, you guys enjoying your time?
It was awesome, man.
And when do you guys leave?
Tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to get you the fuck back to your family. We've already been out for over 2 hours.
Okay.
And it's your birthday, and it's almost dinner time.
Yeah.
What do you want to close it out with? Where can people find you?
Good luck. Find me on the Instagrams.
OnlyFans, obviously. Where
Yeah,
else
a
can
feet finder. I'm more of the feet finder type of guy. That's where the money is, Andy.
I am,
especially jiu-jitsu.
I've never heard that, feet finder, but now I'm going to, Mike, I'm going to need you to Google that on your own personal device off of the Wi-Fi here in the
we
studio.
might not want to use this computer.
I have this business idea that I'm just going to go around our jiu-jitsu gym and just take photos of
It's non-consensual.
of people.
It's
You can't do that.
Nick. I don't know.
I think it's in the waiver.
Yeah, I was gonna say put it in the waiver.
Put it in the waiver. They don't read that. Nobody reads that
Nope.
shit.
They
Yeah,
don't.
boom.
Like put it like 8th or 9th bullet
Passive.
point.
That's passive income for the gym, bro. No.
You do you.
Yeah, find me on Instagram. Check out Johnny Slicks. Check out the Agogi. And if you guys need something, message me. I'm easy.
Too easy, man. Thanks for the couple hours.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank your family for giving us the time.
Yeah.